And so one of the things that we know about the Second Age, about the building of the rings, creating of the rings, is that they were initially created because they were told, mostly by Anatar, that in order to keep from waning in Middle Earth, in order to stay in Middle Earth and not fade, they needed something to harness power, basically, to take power from Middle Earth and keep it with themselves. Look at this, everybody. We're in a coffee shop together.
Finally.
Carlos and I are back together.
It's been a long time. It's been a very
This is the
long
coolest
time.
thing ever. I love this. The best thing is if we could make our own background and do this.
I know.
Like
I should figure out
we
a
could be
way.
in Casa Doom and
That would
be
be
having a
awesome.
podcast side by side.
We could be at the table that
That
Durin
Durin stole.
just totally tricked the
Gilgal
elves
had
into giving him.
made him feel super bad about it. It was pretty fantastic. All right, so let's go. We're just gonna jump right into this thing. Like always, we've got a half hour to talk about episode 5. All the spoilers, every spoiler, mucho spoilers.
Muchos spoilers. Um so this is I think this is like the third film or third episode in a row directed by Wayne Yip.
Yep. So the
Uh
first 2 were Jay Bayona, and these last 3 have been Yip.
yep. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I saw his name, I was like, oh, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
He does a great job, and I just want to get this out as we get started. Does a fantastic job with those wide shot
Mm-hmm.
views, right? Of just kind of like the landscape and stuff. And we got that at the beginning when we're watching the hobbits kind of on their migration and stuff like that. The song, which I'm sure is burned into your brain and you've
Oh yeah.
listened to like what, like 3,000 times already
Oh yeah.
in less than 24
Absolutely.
hours. I knew that the second I heard it, I was like, Chris is all over this song, man.
I just
This
love
has
that. I
Chris's
just
name
love
written
that
on it.
line. My legs are so short and the road is so long. Like that's just such a good Hobbit line.
It's a very good Hobbit line.
It's great.
And we get, yeah, so we get very beautiful cinematography from Wayne Yip, and and I just love the episodes that he is directing, and
Hmm.
that's my one thing that I want to say right now off the bat.
Yeah. No, I agree. There are like the landscapes, and they are making very fun use. And again, we get this with the Hobbits. They're making very fun use of the map.
Yeah.
So like we got that a lot in the first 2 episodes, right? But not as much in the last few.
I was trying to look on my map. I was like, where is
And
this? Where is
yeah,
this?
and it's like it's very fun use of the map. We get to see them kind of moving through Middle Earth on their migration, and where they're going. So it was yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I do think he's doing a really good job. And even though we went to more places with more people this time,
Uh-huh.
it didn't feel crazy rushed or crazy condensed.
No, and I think that's because we're 5 episodes in. We have three
Hmm.
episodes left, right? I told Melissa that. I'm like, there's only 3 episodes left. She's like, really?
I
I'm like,
know.
yeah. And what it is what we've gotten, and what I told her is what we've gotten through 4 episodes is the lead up to what this season is going to, and kind of tackle in the last 2 episodes, with the last episode most definitely going to be a cliffhanger. If it's not a
Oh yeah.
cliffhanger, I will eat this hat.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been building to, right? We are now
Mhm.
going to war
Yep.
in this at the end of
Kind
this
of.
episode, right? I know. I mean, we're gonna go to battle,
Right.
right?
This is not the armies of Numenor coming to Middle Earth. This is a first party. Let's go check things out.
This is a first party. Let's go check things out. But I think this is what they're doing is they're condensing the entire the Numenorian history in Middle Earth, right, to this kind of period in time. which I'm
I
okay with.
agree. I think that there is going to be a larger Numenorian battle at
Yeah,
some
I'm not.
point.
I don't disagree with that. I think this
Yeah.
is just they're gonna get there. There's gonna be a battle, right? This is the first one of
Hmm.
many, right? There I'm pretty sure they're gonna come in and they're gonna save the Southland people at the tower. That's my prediction, right?
Okay. Okay.
For this season.
Yeah.
And we'll probably get that at this season. Maybe we won't, but that's my prediction.
Did
And I
you
don't do
hear
predictions. I
did
don't
you
do
hear my
predictions.
take on the tower?
I don't think I did.
On it was on the podcast, the Voices of Arda podcast that I did.
I
So
listened to it. I don't remember it.
so my take on the tower is I believe
Is it the
that it
Kirith Ungol?
will become Kirithungol.
That's yeah, I've heard that from multiple people too.
Yeah. Um
Online, right? So
it's in the right place. It looks the right way. Like,
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be upset with it being Kirith
yeah.
Ungol, right? I again, I would be more upset with the people who were saying is this is Sauron, this
Oh, right.
is this is Gandalf. I'd be more upset with that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Which leads me to
Yeah,
um pretty I can I think I feel confident saying that Adar is not Sauron.
absolutely not. Nobody is that we've seen.
Nobody.
Nobody.
Nobody. And you said it during the podcast with Willie and Callie and everybody else. Um Great job, by the way.
Thank you.
You represented the Swolhirrim very,
You were
very
gonna be there,
effectively.
but then you couldn't.
I was gonna be there, but then I realized, oh wait, this is East Coast time and
Yeah.
I work. So work would not be happy about that. So I had to bow out. But we essentially got confirmation from Adar himself that he is not Sauron.
Oh yeah.
I
He did
don't
not
think
like that.
he did not like that he was called Sauron, right?
Right.
I think he really hates Sauron.
Yeah.
I think he is not a good character, right? Or not that he's
Right.
not a good character.
He's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But we've had entire series where we root for the bad guy, and he's probably gonna be one of those guys.
Yeah.
Maybe.
He's a bad guy, but he is not a servant of Sauron.
No.
Yeah, I agree. I think it more than anything, with Sauron being gone, I feel like he is trying to basically usurp Sauron, right? That's why he's trying to find the sword. He wants to have control over that type of stuff, right?
100%.
No, I agree. So, but talking about Adar, and there's been some confusion. I feel like I've seen some confusion on the internet and many places with comments and stuff. Do you remember when? So he has the orc unsleeve his arm, right? And his
Yeah.
arm is burning, and he asks him how it feels, and blah 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 blah. And then he says, "This will be the last time that I see the sun, and I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss its warmth and stuff like that." People like there've been a lot of comments thinking that like he's going to try to take down the sun, but that's not what it is. He's actually describing what he's describing is Orodruin
Yeah.
erupting and creating the clouds of smoke, just like Thangorodrim used to do up in Autumno.
That's exactly what I thought when I heard it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he is gonna block out the sun.
Yeah.
Right.
And because he's going to make a habitable place for the orcs.
Correct.
That they're able to walk around not in their tunnels, but actually out and about, right? Yeah. Like that's the whole point. We got that from the moment that Galadriel found that piece of thing in the halls of whatever that Elros created in Numenor. It said that they were going to create a place not only where they could survive but thrive.
Right.
Right. And that's what they're doing in the Southlands. And so like that was just one of those things where I'm like, I really like that because it's it's foreshadowing, right? And a lot of people, I'm sure there are a lot of people who don't know the lore at all that are like, what is he talking about getting rid of the sun? Like, what does that mean? Right. But we know what that is. We know what that means. He means in one way or another, he is going to make the volcano that we come to know as Mount Doom erupt and put ash and cloud in the sky and make it a place that the sun no longer penetrates.
Transform the Southlands into Mordor.
Yep.
That is his platform that he is running on, and he has 100% support from the orcs. He's got about 50% of support from the Southlanders themselves.
Yeah, that asshole old man.
Yeah. I love that he was even trying to get Theo to go.
I
And
know.
Theo was thinking about it. You
And
could
so
tell
like
he was thinking about it. And if it wasn't for the fact that his mother is essentially leading the people that are there, I think he'd have gone.
and I
Right?
do the good thing is I do feel like I hated Theo less in this episode because like
Because you
under
only
his
saw him for like 5 minutes.
well, but under his, I mean, we only saw him for that long in like the first ones too, but like under his own accord, like he showed Arondir the sword.
Yep.
Like he didn't like have to, right?
Yep.
He had a moment with Arondir where he wasn't just like this elf hating teenage boy, right? And I I was trying to find meaning in Arondir showing that piece of the tower. I have no idea what that
Yeah,
meant.
I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it again.
Like it
There was
seemed
there
like
was there was an effigy at the bottom, right? So
yeah,
the
and
sword was through
it seemed
a
like
person.
Arondir knew what it meant, but
Yeah,
like even like all of us, we're looking at it like I don't know what this means.
yeah. I don't. It's a face. I'm pretty sure it's Morgoth.
Yeah,
It's this. It's that sword,
right.
and it's
And it's
people.
going through a body.
It's going through a body. So Morgoth, essentially subjugating the people of the Southlands. Maybe I
Well,
don't
and I'm
know.
thinking that possibly so we know that like when the person stabs themselves with it, it's created, right? But
Right.
what if a person uses that blade to kill another?
Yeah.
Then is it a blade entirely and does it become something else?
Mm.
You know what I mean? So like I don't know if that's what that means or what that's going for. Whatever it is, it's nice that like even trying to understand the lore, I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
And that's good. Like
Yep.
I want them to give me some of that. I want them to give me some story that I'm like, I have no idea what that means. So like I thought that was fun. I thought do you want to jump over to Numenor?
Yeah, let's jump over to Numenor,
Um
where plans are in place for getting Galadriel back.
mhm.
And Isildur is trying to get to be part of that team, but his dad is adamant that he does not get to be part of that team, right?
I kind of
And
love
and I
his
kind of want to talk. I kind of want to talk about that because
okay.
on our Instagram, right? We got a little bit of a pushback
Uh-huh.
on the fact
Uh-huh.
that we used the term, he was done dirty, right? In reference to Isildur.
Right.
Tell me you don't listen to our podcast without telling me you don't listen to our podcast, right? First of all,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
because it's not the first time we've said it, right? We have an entire episode about Isildur. Um, he is a complex character. There was a guy, I think I sent you his TikTok, who actually talked about Isildur. I think I sent
Probably.
it to your individual account. And essentially saying the same things, right? Like he did amazing things, right? And that is what the show is going to show, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to show his growth from this kind of indecisive character to a hero, right? To a fallen hero eventually in the movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he is. He is a fallen hero, right? And I stand by it.
Yeah.
Isildur was done dirty. Let's talk about what he was doing in the show, though. That's my
But
rant.
yeah, so I do like I like the kind of relationship that Isildur and Elendil are having right now, where Elendil's just like, I mean, not in a horrible way. I feel like Elendil is like on the verge of being slightly toxic to his kids, right? But not quite there. Because he's still just like He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, what's your experience in? What have you done? Like, what is this? What is that? What is this? Right? When Isildur is trying to get onto the boats,
Yeah.
and he's like, I've got tons of people that want to be a part of this, that have put in the work, and like, you've had your head in the clouds, and we don't know why that is yet either.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know why Isildur is hearing voices. We don't know why he thinks he's better off going to where his brother is, to the west, right? Which for everybody, that does not mean Valinor or Tol Eressëa. That's just the western shore of Numenor.
Yeah.
That faces not like
Valinor.
to the west,
yeah.
right? So anyway, we don't know why that is. We don't know that about Isildur yet. Right. And so right now, he's just kind of a flighty character that wants to do the right thing, but doesn't know what the right thing is.
Yeah.
Right. Like he even says in this, and I believe him, he wants to serve. He just doesn't know the best way to do that or how he's supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that is important with his character moving forward, because he is very much from what we know, one of the faithful. He is the one that saves the tree. Like, this is like, he is a very important piece in the faithful moving forward. And so he does find that. We just don't know how yet.
Yeah.
Right. Which is cool. I like that.
Yeah. We also have a little bit more with Farazan and his son, right? His son, who is a weasel. I don't care.
I think that's his name.
His son's a weasel.
Yeah.
Who also, correct me if I'm wrong though, he looks like the human version of someone in one of the cartoon Lord of the Rings, doesn't he?
He does. He looks like the human version of
Elrond.
Is it Elrond or is it Legolas?
I want to say it's Elrond.
It might be.
In like the Raskin and Bass ones.
Yeah.
Someone could correct me, but
yeah,
like the what he's wearing. Anyways,
yeah,
he's a weasel. I don't like him. But you see, because he was trying,
and his dad's a weasel too, but at least he's good at it.
His dad's a crafty weasel, right?
Right.
So he talks to his dad at the behest of Isildur's sister, who, pretty sure she's of the Kingsmen side, right?
She's definitely going to be, if she's not already.
She's going to be, right?
Yeah.
So we can kind of see where that's going. She's not on board with Galadriel or any of the stuff that's kind of going on. So she's talked to Farazan's kid to tell him to talk to his dad about, like, what can you do? Like, you got to stop this, right? And Farazan's like, why would I want to stop this? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not taking
this is a win-win.
This is a win-win for us, right?
Yeah.
So you see in his mind, right? Like, this is crafty Farazan who will at some point take the throne.
Right.
Spoilers for
Oh, and it was cool because it actually, like, show mentioned that he and Muriel are cousins.
Yeah.
Because it hadn't mentioned that yet, right?
Yeah.
We didn't know that yet.
No.
So it was in this episode that they mentioned that they are cousins, right? Because the son is basically saying, like, you have a right to the throne.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that whole part, and we see more of Farazan basically just being like, look, dude, you're not thinking this through. This is a win-win for us. Basically, no matter what happens here, we win. Yeah. Like, and he means we as like the royal we of Farazan, and and anyone else that is with him,
and Farazan's family,
right? So I like that
his weasel son is still going to be a weasel son,
and he does stupid things that he thinks are a way to, like, do what he, like, something against the crown, against Muriel, right? But he's stupid about it. He doesn't know what he's doing, and so he ends up blowing up half the fleet.
Yeah.
Staying in Numenor, though, this episode, I'm sorry, but if you still think Halbrand is Sauron after this episode, I don't know what to tell you. Like, there is absolutely no way. After the conversation that he has with Galadriel, I don't care how, like, manipulative and sneaky and everything Sauron is. Halbrand is not Sauron.
Halbrand is gonna is gonna be one of the Nazgul.
See, I don't even think that.
You don't think that?
No, I think Halbrand. So, and I've heard this a little bit here and there. I think Halbrand is going to take the surviving people of the Southlands and basically go north and end up becoming the Rohirrim eventually.
Maybe.
Um,
That's a good theory.
yeah. Uh, and I feel like there are hints to that with like the armor that he's wearing.
Yeah.
His armor is very different from
You
everybody
know we
else.
have well, I guess we have seen it. We have seen it.
The
The
horse
horse
sword.
sword, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of the Numenorians have
Yep.
those horse swords,
Yep.
which are so cool. I
Yeah.
love the hilt of that sword. It's awesome. And when one of the times when we first saw that outside of him forging it is when Galadriel was teaching them boys how to fight. Well, boys and girls. There were actually girls in there
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Because Numenor is very progressive that way. I thought that was a really fun fight scene. I thought that was
Yeah,
cool.
I thought it was a good fight scene. Melissa thought there was too much slow motion. So her critique of the show is there's too much slow motion in the show.
Yeah. I thought it was
There's something
fun.
else that she had a critique on. We'll talk about it later when we get to that part. But
Okay.
um
Um, but one of the other cool things about so I like the action scene in that. I thought it was
yeah.
fun. We don't get a ton of action. We really haven't so far. And I think we won't until like season 2, season 3. Like
We're gonna get
we're
some
gonna get a
action.
little bit with the battles that are coming up, but
Yeah.
like anyway. Um there hasn't been a lot, and I'm okay with that,
Yeah.
basically, is what I'm saying, right?
They're building up the story.
But we have that conversation with Halbrand and Galadriel, right? And they seem to be Halbrand, Galadriel, and Elrond and Durin are the ones that are having these like deep, meaningful conversations,
Yeah.
right? And Halbrand and Galadriel, their latest conversation is great because we do get that confirmation that Finrod did die the way that he did in the lore. She says
Yeah.
that he was killed in darkness by servants of Sauron.
Yep.
Right.
It's
She didn't specifically say werewolves in this specific tower. Right.
Right.
But we got that. It wasn't Sauron that did it.
Right.
Right. He was killed in darkness in a place of darkness by servants of Sauron.
Yeah.
Which was
And
great.
if your servants kill you, right, then you were killed by the person who sent the servant.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it's not an untrue statement.
So I thought that was really cool.
If I put a hit out on somebody, right, those people were my servants in getting you killed. I, formulated that.
Well, and staying in Numenor, because we don't have a ton of time.
No.
Just going through that last little bit that we see of them loading up. We see Isildur did get in because he ended up going with the Sable Masters. Basically, he's going to be
he saved Farazan's kid.
right. And we see everybody loading up to leave, right? 3 ships are going out and they're going to Middle Earth. And it was this very big moment of like, look at us. We've got our might and our military and we're heading out. And Galadriel shows up in her armor that we've seen in the previews. And Halbrand's wearing his badass leather armor that I love. And Muriel's looking awesome, right? Everybody looks really good in this. And they're heading out and it's like this big moment, right?
Yeah,
and that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, and for what I like is, it's a very sea oriented society, right?
Mm-hmm.
The sea is right, or whatever.
The sea is always right.
The sea is always right. And their armor reflects that, right?
Yeah.
It's scales. It's like fish scales.
Yeah.
Which I like that little detail.
But running back over to Middle Earth, I want to talk about Elrond last, like Elrond and Durin last. So like sure. I thought it was the stuff that we got from the stranger again was cool. He's starting to talk a little bit, right? He's learning, he's
learning
adapting
language.
He's learning language. He's understanding what they're doing, why they're moving.
Do you think that whole conversation with him and Nori where she tells him you're not bad is kind of a way to throw, like, they're throwing us off?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling he's gonna be bad.
Oh, see, I
You
still
think
don't know.
you don't know?
No, and like the reason why is like, okay, so I do at this point I do think that he is one of the Astari.
Yeah.
I do not think that he is Gandalf though.
No.
Um and
There's
so
stuff going out on someone put something on Reddit that said that the constellation that he put out was Gemini,
Gemini.
right? And
Right.
and Gemini is twins, right? And
Right.
he is looking for something, right?
Yeah.
He keeps looking up to the skies, to the stars. Someone said he's Tillian. I don't think he's Tillian.
No, he's absolutely not Tillian. I
No,
saw that too. I was like, no,
no.
no, absolutely
There's
not.
no way.
No.
So
Don't be talking about my boy like that.
I don't. So I yeah, I if it's any wizard, it's a blue wizard, right?
Yeah.
Because there's really not a whole lot written about them. We do get like when they kind of came, or
No, but
all that
that's
stuff.
why
But
it would be
even
smart to use
yeah,
them, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's what I'm saying is like,
yeah.
you know, we know Gandalf, right?
Yep.
He's a main character. We know Sauron, he's a main character. How we even know Radagast a
Radagast.
little bit, right? But of the blue wizards, even in the like 11 the movie in the Hobbit, where Gandalf's like, you know what, I don't even remember their names,
Yeah.
right?
No, I think
And
you're
that's kind of
right.
what
And
we have.
actually, how cool would it be if he does end up finding the constellation and he finds the other blue wizard?
Yeah,
Like that would be a very, very cool kind of setup. And that doesn't have to happen this
yeah,
season. It can happen later on, right? But I think that would be cool. And we also know that before they were sent, Sauron knew that emissaries were going to be sent over.
yeah,
Like he had a feeling that that was going to happen. So if he was building up, and this is where I was going, if he was building up his cult, his worshippers, he would tell them the signs of these Maiar, of these Astari coming over,
yeah,
right? And so he would be like, look for this place, look for this thing. And so that's why we have those that cult of Morgoth kind of looking over the crater where the stranger landed,
yeah,
right? Is because they know that they are looking for the Astari.
yeah. Yeah, I like
Um
that.
and that makes way more sense than them looking for, like, I still don't understand why people think that this is Sauron. Like it makes way more sense than them going to this crater looking for Sauron,
Yeah,
right? Like that doesn't make sense.
yeah.
I hold to the theory that Sauron is already Anatar, and Anatar is already working with Celebrimbor, and we just
Oh,
haven't seen him.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Um,
And leading into that,
all right, let's
he
talk
would
about this.
definitely be one of the people that is saying
Feeding
the
this
elves,
story.
yes, the elves are waning. They're going to wane, and so we need a power to keep elves here.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of the things that we know about the Second Age, about the building of the rings, creating of the rings, is that they were initially created because they were told, mostly by Anatar,
Mm-hmm.
that in order to keep from waning in Middle Earth, in order to stay in Middle Earth and not fade, they needed something to harness power,
Yeah.
basically, to take power from Middle Earth and keep it with themselves, right?
Yeah.
And so they made these rings. Now we talk about like the rings of power, they're 20 rings, right? There were way more than that made.
Yep.
Way more than that made. Now they were lesser rings, but it was still the same idea that all of these elves were given rings so that they would not wane
Yeah.
while in Middle Earth.
Yeah. Just to that point, right? Like, yeah. So, yes, there were tons of rings, right? And if you're in leadership, why would you give something that's going to make someone else as powerful or more powerful than you when you're in charge? Like, you're not going to do that. Even if you're, an all good elf, which, the elves aren't, right?
No.
They're assholes.
Yes.
But so of course for your, your group that's in charge, you're gonna make more special rings, right? To harness more power than the ones that you made for everybody else.
Exactly. And that's the big point that's happening here. So we are getting, now that is not the story we're being told quite yet, but my thing is Gil-galad, and again, I don't think that the tree is a symbol of elves waning, I think something else is going on there, like Anatar, a bad guy, is in the midst of elves, and it's creating this problem with the tree, right? The tree, like, there's no real symbolism there when it comes to the elves waning. But Gilgalad, and I'm okay with him being portrayed as kind of this sleazy asshole leader. I'm all right with it. There are definitely people who are not okay with it.
As a leader, you do what you must,
right,
for your people, right?
So he and Celebrimbor are basically, in my thoughts, they're already talking with Anatar, right? And they're trying to find a way. What is the best way to keep?
I'm going to disagree with you on that, but go ahead.
What is the best way to keep everybody, all of the elves, all of the people of Lindon and everywhere else? How is the best way to keep them from waning from this world, right? And there is a folklore. There is a myth that is told among elves. Really quick, everybody. This show is not changing the origin of Mithril. This show is not changing what happened to the Silmarils. Okay? There is a myth that Elrond, who is a lore master, this is what he's known for. This is why Gilgalad specifically asks him this question. He is a lore master, and he says, among the lore masters, this is an apocryphal story. It's not true. It's a myth. And then he gives the story that the lost Silmaril, which could only be the one that went into the earth, right? So we have 3 Silmarils. One ended up in the stars with Eärendil. One ended up in the ocean.
We also saw in that shot when we're in Numenor.
We also saw, one ended up in the ocean, and the other one ended up in the earth, right? So the one that Gilgalad is talking about is the one that ended up in the earth, right? This myth says that that one
doesn't change that. Doesn't change this myth. Doesn't change that, right?
Nope. And it says that this one, basically a tree grew on top of it, essentially, right? And there was an elf and a Balrog that were fighting over this tree, more or less. And lightning struck it, and all of the goodness of the elf and all of the badness of the Balrog went into this, and it created this ore in the earth, right? This is like typical mythology, guys. Like, if you can't see the narrative storytelling of this is exactly what mythology does. It takes something that is real and it gives a mythological reason to its existence.
I think that, so I think the issue is that it's a new ore, right? It's an ore that's not known, right? The elves believe it exists because of this story, which I'm going to say is, I think, because I think, to your point, is Anatar is feeding them this story, right? He is telling them, hey, remember this story that we have, right? Which, it's not an unknown story, right? I'm sure, like, Sauron somehow knows that Mithril's the thing, right?
Right. Well, and Mithril exists in other places. Right? So, like, Mithril exists in Valinor. Mithril exists in Numenor. So, like, it exists in other places. But yeah, like you were saying, like, I believe that. Like, I think that this is Anatar kind of like doing what he does. We know that this is what Sauron does. He whispers, right?
And the only thing that I would disagree with you on is, I don't think that this is Anatar talking to Celebrimbor and Gilgalad. I think this is him feeding it to Celebrimbor, right? And Celebrimbor just being like, yep, this makes sense. This makes sense to me.
We, like, that's the thing, is it was established the very first time that we met Celebrimbor that he feels like he has not lived up to his family's name. Right?
Specifically his grandfather.
Right. And so
the rest of his family is,
well, yeah, his dad's he disowned his dad. But you know what I mean? Like, he does not live up to that legacy. And so if somebody is coming along and telling him ways that he can, right? And this is very obviously the reason why he needs this incredibly powerful forge, so that he can forge this mithril, blah, 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 right? But that does not change the fact that this show is not changing the origin of Mithril. It's not changing what happened to Silmarils. It's not doing any of that. It's giving us a in-universe mythology
Yeah.
of this ore.
And it's doing two things, right? For us, right? The people who spend way too much time talking about this,
Right.
right? It's led to this kind of debate. It's like, oh, this isn't, whatever. What we're talking about, saying, this is just a myth. It's not changing any of the lore. For casual viewers, right, who don't give a shit and don't know otherwise, they're gonna look at that and go like, oh yeah, cool.
It's a cool myth.
It's a
Yeah.
cool myth. How is that any different than people? So, and if they go about their lives from now on believing that is how Mithril came to be, right? How is that any different than telling someone, oh, Faramir wasn't a fucking asshole like he's portrayed in the movie, right? Isildur isn't a fucking asshole like he's
Or
portrayed in the movie,
or
or Aragon totally wanted to fucking be king and he was all about that shit and
or
was
Arwen never said, if you want him, come and take him.
right.
Right?
So
Like
it's like how is that any different, right? And so it's like keep in mind that this show is not just for us who are coming on here putting out content, right? It is for us and it's for everybody else because we
and
are
like
not
you
big
said,
enough to fund this show at this level, right?
right.
Otherwise, what we're gonna get is we're gonna get that Russian version of the Lord of the Rings that was on the internet like during the pandemic.
And like you said, the average person watching these things don't have the same reactions that
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah.
Right? It's they are simply watching a story play out.
Yeah. Melissa's biggest complaint about the show was uh that exchange between Gilgalad and Elrond, where Gilgalad's like, where Elrond basically said, "I figured out why you sent me out there." Right.
Right.
Right. Um, and then and Gilgalad trying to get Elrond to tell him to break his oath, right? To tell him that he's got Mithril.
Right.
So it's just like, why are you like, you've essentially just confirmed, like by you saying I'm not going to break my oath, is you essentially confirming, yeah, they've got Mithril,
Right.
right?
Well, but like that's the thing.
And that
Is
was
like,
her biggest complaint. It's like you do know like this conversation, like the second that you said like I'm not going to break my oath is when I realized that yeah, you do know that thing
right.
that I sent you to find out.
But like that's the thing is like I think that he already knows that it exists. I think he's trying to be like, where is it and what can we do with it and how can we get it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Elrond's not going to give that up.
Right.
Right. But he does have a very awesome, and this
Oh,
again,
oh
this
my
is
God.
why I love
their
Durin.
relationship. Durin's fucking fantastic.
Durin is walking and he stands up on a rock so that they're at eye level with each other.
Yep.
And he's like, bro, just fucking talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even angry. He's not mad. He's not mad about any of it.
Well, because he knows.
Yeah.
And he also knows, right? Everybody
right.
knows. Everybody knows that everybody knows.
Yeah. And then that's the thing is he's like, I need you to just talk to me. Like, I know that you talk to them. I know that things are going on. I need you to just talk to me. And Elrond does, and he gives him the reason why, or what he's at least been told, right? And then Durin just loves that,
Yeah,
right?
he's
Because
like,
Durin's like,
you're the only one that can help the
like, oh,
elves.
I'm gonna be responsible for the elves continuing.
Yeah.
Me?
Who's the only one that can help?
Who can do it? Just me.
Just
me. I'm the only one that can do this. And like, and he loves it, right?
Yeah.
And he revels it. And I love that Elrond is okay with that.
Yeah.
Elrond allows, and like Elrond is like very honestly with him, like, from what I know, you are the only person that can help.
Yep.
Now Elrond's being fed incorrect information, right? Like he's been fed wrong information.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to find that out. And this is why the rings are going to be made, is we are going to find out that Mithril is not the answer. And then we move on to making the rings.
Yeah.
So like, that's kind of my theory on it, is that at some point we're going to find out, oh no, it's actually not Mithril that's going to keep us here. Mithril is not infused with the light of Valinor. we need to do something else.
Yeah.
Right. And Anatar is like, well, we make these rings.
Make these
And then,
rings with some of the mithril.
yeah.
Then
And
we do know that,
Nenya is made out of mithril. I
mithril.
think Nenya is the only one that we
The
know for
only of the
sure that's
three
made out of
elven rings
mithril.
that's made out of mithril.
Yeah.
Someone on the Reddits had said that what if the little piece of mithril that Elrond has is what eventually becomes Nenya.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, so to wrap it up, like I really loved I love the exchange of, as I do every time they have an exchange, I love the exchange of Elrond and Durin. I love their relationship, and I love, even though again he's emotionally volatile, I love how healthy Durin is. Like Durin is just, he is that guy that you want. He is that friend that you want. That he's like, you know what? Fuck you for being gone for so long.
Yeah.
Like that was a dick move. You shouldn't have done that shit. I know you're here for a reason other than what you're telling me, but I want to reconnect because I miss you. Right.
Yeah.
And then they become friends again to a point where he can then again, even though he knows Elrond's not being fully honest with him, he can tell him like, dude, how many times do we have to go over this shit? Just talk to me.
Yeah.
And they're friends. They are good friends. And I love that.
Yeah.
Like I love that they have that relationship. Do you have any final thoughts over this episode?
I don't think so. Not that
We got nowhere near as many like Easter eggs. I can't think of a single one that we really got, honestly.
No. I didn't notice any, but then again, I never notice any on the first take. So
yeah. I know I've only watched it once so far. Usually by the time we're recording, I've watched it twice. So yeah, I didn't notice any Easter eggs, but we had a ton in episode 4. So there wasn't really a whole lot of reason behind it.
There's only so many eggs.
Right. There can only be so many hidden. So I thought it was great. Remember, guys, we are doing this every week, every episode. We throw one of these out. We try to make it at about a half hour. Sadly, we're at about 40 minutes right now, but we're doing pretty well with it. We're sticking pretty close. This was a big episode, though. There was a lot that happened here, and there was a lot that I wanted to talk about.
This is a big episode. There was a lot of discussion, right? A lot of people like, I don't know if I like that.
There was a lot of lore master discussion, right? There was like, that's really where this discussion came in this week.
Yeah.
But find us on Instagram.
Not to say that I don't think any one of those people is I mean, there are people who are just hating on the show and they're going to hate on the show, right? But of the people that I've seen who have commented about this particular issue, right, with the mithril, I think is the big takeaway from this.
And I get it.
Is, oh, this isn't canon. I don't like it. It was sloppy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but if you're looking at it from the perspective of someone who doesn't know anything about the show and is just watching the show because they want to enjoy the show, then it's not really that off.
No.
Right?
No.
It's not any worse than anything Peter Jackson did.
And so that's how I feel about Gil-galad right now. So like that story, like I said, I still feel like if you're paying attention to the narrative, there's plenty that's being presented, the mithril thing, it's a mithril. But
nice.
But
that's a good one.
But when it comes to people like Gil-galad and stuff like that, I'm like, nobody else watching this show is going to know any better. Yeah. It's okay to have him as this leader who is willing to do anything to save his people, even be kind of a sleazebag.
There's plenty of time for him to have a character arc, right? Where he realizes
we've got plenty of time.
There's plenty of time, right? For growth, right? Yep. Why can't elves grow? Elves can grow.
So find us on Instagram at the Swolhirrim. Find us on TikTok. We throw a bunch of stuff up there. I'll probably try and do a live within the next few days, maybe over the weekend at some point.
I'm gonna do the Hobbits. The Hobbits tomorrow. I got programmed.
Nice, good. And then we're still putting out our history and our character profiles, so keep an eye out for those. We'll have another one. Actually, we've got a history coming out this week, and we're going to record one this week, so it'll be good. hit us up with your comments, your questions, even if they're, incorrect ones, like the guy that left one about our childish comments about Isildur. Look,
Childish.
everything that we do is juvenile here. You guys
I
should
could
fucking know this by now.
I can give you fucking childish. You want childish?
um, but check us out everywhere. Find our link tree on our Instagram to check out our Patreon and our swag that we've got, our Swolhirrim stuff that we were putting out. And coming up soon, I think in 4 weeks, we've got trivia part 2.
Oh yeah.
That we are going to be hosting. So we're gonna be in there hosting another trivia. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I think Callie just announced it on her TikTok a few days ago. So check that out on Callie Cosplay. But other than that, Carlos, you got anything else?
Bye.